For this month, we're going to look at the Total War games as a special request from one of our subscribers. I happen to think the Total War series is one of the best ever devised, and it continues to deliver top-notch gaming for both the strategic and tactical-minded player. The heart of the Total War series is the interface between the strategic and the tactical, thus its appeal to a wide range of players. The strategic offers the big picture, which includes a worldview consisting of countries, cities, borders, topography, and army and fleet icons. Each of these elements are subject to player management either directly or indirectly, either through expansion of cities, placement of force, or use of the trade routes. Diplomacy, religion, culture, technology, and economics are all part of the mix and subject to varying degrees of player intervention or neglect. From these factors, you consider game AI objectives or develop your own or a mix of both. Development of armies and fleets follows with the consideration of population, technology, food surpluses, and resources. You decide what is important and design your forces accordingly. Spies, diplomats, and champions provide the role of scouts, assassins, and diplomats. Your armies and their skill and technology that they utilize are based on your decision-making process and what you estimate what the opposition may be or have. Your choice of country or faction or coalition dictates your basic forces, but how you develop them, how you train them, and how you sustain them is in your hands. Either through your choice or by chance, you will come to battle. You will press that button and feel the weight of responsibility on your shoulders. The moment has arrived, the forces you have created are at your fingertips, and now the army is in front of you. You are the general, and you will win or lose based on your skill and knowledge of the enemy. The tactician is now in charge. You set up the forces, arrange them carefully so that your units complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. You start the battle, and what follows is the most immersive conflict that you can imagine. The level of detail is astonishing. Individual soldiers with swords, spears, and slings in hand do your duty. You direct them as a general would, and you are amazed at the realism of the fight, the blood, the dead, and the destruction. Are you the victor or the vanquished? It all depends on you. One of the key gaming aspects that I enjoy about the Total War series is the ability to form your army with exactly the troops you want within certain limitations. You have to work to get to that point, of course, but it drives you to think ahead and plan out your moves. You are given a wide range of units, and it is up to you to train them, protect them, and utilize them to the best of your ability. Truly, this game gives you the ultimate armchair generalship. You are provided with opportunities to exercise a variety of different tools to achieve your goals, including spies, diplomats, and champions, which all have their research trees that provide an ever-changing pattern of playability. These elements all play out on the strategic map, but have an effect on the tactical field of battle, where I believe the game excels above all others. When you enter a battle, you are given the opportunity to allow the computer to resolve it, or you can choose to enter the battle and command your forces yourself. The program provides you with presets that allow you to arrange your forces into a pattern that loosely follows general ideas of formations. For new players, this provides a mechanism for arranging your forces without forcing you to fully understand your troops and your weaknesses and strengths. In other words, it gives you the ability to learn by doing. After a few battles, you start to understand that throwing your cavalry at regiments with spears is probably a bad idea. Learning warfare basics is taking small steps, putting them together, and welding a cohesive build that will provide flexibility, maneuverability, and the power to accomplish your objectives. You will learn to do this in these games. The key to this game series is the actual battles that you command. It requires that you pay attention and understand not only your forces, but the forces arrayed against you. It is daunting at first because of the sheer variety of opponents that you might face and the level of experience that they bring to bear on you. Nonetheless, once you master the tools you have, then you can weld them into an efficient fighting machine. Fighting these battles require that you micromanage your forces in varying degrees of real-time, from slow to real fast, my terms. While your mileage may vary, the more you micromanage, the better able you are to direct the outcome in your favor. Least that you believe that all you have to do is beat your opponent in battle, you must do it intelligently, otherwise you wind up grinding your way to the eventual end, which might not be to your liking when your capital falls to the enemy. What this means is that individual units in your army become more important as they are upgraded and gain experience. You don't let these units become fodder to be ground up by the enemy. You withdraw them before they are eliminated so that they can be reformed into the force you spent so much time building. This requires planning and understanding of the forces you field and face, which includes the weapons and beasts the enemy arrays against you. For the tactician among you, this is what you dream about in gaming. At this point, you get the drift that I not only enjoy the game, but love it. That being said, there are problems. First, the AI is sometimes fixated in ways that just don't make sense. They'll chase some of your units regardless of what is happening around them or what would tactically make better sense. Don't get me wrong, I think the AI does a pretty good job, but sometimes it's a head-scratcher. The most persistent issue is around what the AI thinks the odds are for auto-resolving a battle. As an extreme example, the enemy has one regiment of beaten-up militia, and you have 5,000 veteran soldiers. The auto-resolve says you're likely going to lose in a big way. Well, the reason for my complaining is that you don't want to fight every battle that is presented either through your design or by chance. In the overly wrought example above, you don't want to load the battle and then fight it to your inevitable victory, since it is, well, inevitable. While religion does play a role in this game, an important role, that doesn't mean there are gods helping out the opposition. This issue is an annoyance. To be fair, the auto-resolution would probably award the victory to you in the above scenario, but more times than not, what you and I might consider a done deal isn't to the AI, and thus you must fight it out on the battlefield. They might eventually fix that or explain it better to us mortals. The other issue is city building. The menus are not intuitive, and you often don't have a clear idea of what you're getting into before you start. There is a built-in wiki that describes each structure and what it does, but the pattern of linkage isn't all that apparent and may not wind up with what you thought you were getting. This is mostly a problem with my overemphasis in what I consider my priorities to be when I play, namely the armies. However, I know how to set up an economy to not only provide food, but wealth and attendant cultural dominance in a region. However, it isn't always apparent to me that what the region is best suited for, and what the best building or economy might be to exploit those resources. The game AI does try to help in that regard, but you have to pay attention to it. I expect most of my menu complaints are more likely attributed to user lazy or error than a flaw in game mechanics. However, I would like to see them be more intuitive. My only other issue is that in Rome 2, your ability to field individual units is lost on a strategic level. Now you must hire a general or admiral if you want a military unit to scout for you. That can be expensive, not to mention difficult if you don't have enough generals or admirals. Scouting and keeping tabs in the enemy forces is as old as war and raiding, and why it was taken away doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I used to keep individual units as early warning units to prevent being taken by surprise. These units could also be used to slow enemy armies by sacrificing themselves so that reinforcements could save the day. The use of spies, diplomats, and champions provide a partial solution to this problem, but are hindered by quotas, city development, and other factors, and more importantly, are not adequate to play the role of outposts and scouts. The sense of rewards with these games comes into play at a variety of levels. As you gain military and economic power, your neighbors shift their view of you. It is interesting and instructive to see the country next to you turn from threatening to fawning, and how much money would you like this month? Some countries, and later groups of countries, will either see you as an enemy or as a potential ally or trading partner. It is solely up to you how you respond to these opportunities to advance your culture, people, or collective. There's much more to these games that I haven't touched upon, and I leave it to you to find out about them. My favorite Total War games are Empire, Medieval Total War, and Rome 2. I tried Shogun several times, but never really got into it. Of the three, Empire is my favorite. I got to the point that I could play the hardest faction, in my opinion, Austria, and win. It was to say highly gratifying, and remember how much fun it was to play. In 2015, Total War is bringing out Attila. They have revamped the city building menu, and it looks like it'd be a real winner. I look forward to playing it, and I expect it will continue in the footsteps of its predecessors as one of the best strategy games yet. For new players, try Rome 2, and it will sweep you up and carry you to the rich history it contains. There isn't enough time in this brief overview to provide you with all the nuances and elements that make up this game. Suffice to say, there are many mods out there that will increase your level of enjoyment, and I hope you experiment with them in the many different facets they bring to the game. There's also a fair number of downloadable content that you can buy to increase the playability of the core games. If they interest you, buy them. Otherwise, you will enjoy literally hundreds of hours of immersive playing. I hope you enjoyed this month's Strategic Gaming. If you enjoyed this segment, show your appreciation by liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Good gaming, and see you on the battlefield.